Welcome back to Crows Before Bros. This is a bookish little kooky channel that I co-run with my best friend Lauren. This month I am talking about House of Hollow by Krystal Sutherland. House of Hollow is a decently popular YA horror fantasy kind of novel that I see pop up on TikTok a lot around this time of year for the past couple years now. As we entered October, I saw a definite uptick in it popping up on my feeds, so I figured if the vibe's alright, why not tuck into it for October? Did the cover impact my decision at all? I'm not telling. House of Hollow is a pretty short read. It clocks in at 292 pages and follows our main character, Iris Hollow, in first person. Iris and one of her sisters, Vivi, are looking for their missing sister, Gray, while simultaneously exploring their own mysterious disappearance when they were children. This review will have some spoilers in it because it's hard for me to talk about this one without any spoilers at all, but I will section them off in the little chapters, so you'll be able to skip those when we get there. This book has some content warnings for suicide, sexual assault, and death. So let's talk characters. The characters we follow most closely throughout this story are the three Hollow sisters. Gray's the oldest sibling, and she's described as being hauntingly gorgeous. She's a fashion designer and a model, world-renowned, everyone knows who she is. And she has kind of this inclination towards anything spooky, mysterious, off-putting, occult, a little witchy, to the point where she's sewing Latin into the hems of her dresses, or like bits of leaves into like the bodice of like a piece. She also enjoys a hearty taxidermy session in her spare time, which is maybe not quite my thing. Vivi's a middle child and she shows it. She rolls up, shaved head, piercings, tattoos. She plays bass in some punk band. She's constantly chain smoking and drinking, and otherwise just trying to be a rebellious child. She's definitely putting out the idea that she's tough, but when push comes to shove, she would do anything for her sisters. Iris, our main character, is the youngest of the three. Where the other two siblings have run away from home, Iris is now filling a gap in the family of being the child who stays, the child who is very dependent on her mother. She wants so badly to be like her sisters, but shies away from a lot of things that will make her like them. Kate is the girl's mom. They literally call her Kate throughout the novel, and she has a very estranged relationship with Gray, a semi-functional relationship with Vivi, and an over-dependent relationship with Iris. It's like Goldilocks and the Three Bears. It's very sectioned off in how she treats each of her three daughters. I guess she just kept having kids until she liked them. Tyler is a final character worth mentioning right now. He's Gray's eccentric, gender non-conforming boyfriend who's also a model in that kind of sphere, and he joins Vivi and Iris as they begin to search for Gray. Overall, I enjoyed the characters here. They do feel a bit exaggerated and larger than life in how they're portrayed, but I think this characterization of almost making them caricatures worked for this style of writing. They're all very interesting to follow, and I think realistically, the final character that I've not really talked about here is the sisterhood, the three of them together as one kind of cohesive unit. The way Sutherland describes this bond is so moving, so beautiful and haunting all at once. Here are some quotes. "If Gray jumped off a bridge, would you? My mother had asked me once. It was a question without an answer. It wasn't a question at all. I didn't follow my sister. I was my sister. I breathed when she breathed. I blinked when she blinked. I felt pain when she felt pain. If Gray was going to jump off a bridge, I was going to be with her holding her hand. Of course, of course, of course. Also, my heart beat in time with hers, the three of us with the exact same rhythm in our chests. When one was scared, the hearts of the others knocked. If you cut us open and peeled back the skin, I was sure you'd find something strange. One organ shared somehow between three girls." Just like chills. I love it. I love that description of the very distinct and special bond that you share with siblings. So what about plot/vibes? Randy, you might ask, why are you putting vibes in the same category as plot? And I'll tell you, it's because the plot is vibes. Are the vibes impeccable for this style of story? Absolutely. It's so eerie. It feels like an old Brothers Grimm kind of fairy tale. Everything goes wrong, everything is twisted. There are parts of this book that I could feel as I was reading. I could feel when there's bugs crawling on them. I could feel those things. The plot revolves around liminal spaces and strange happenings, and the way they're described is such a fever dream to read. It's putrid, I said. It's a slowly rotting canker somewhere between the realms of life and death, a decaying tooth lodged deep in the back of my mouth, a gangrenous limb turned swollen and black from a lack of blood supply, a dying thing, soft and bloated and bleeding, but still attached by thin threads to our living world. That all being said, I think the plot is the part of this book that left me wanting more. This is the part that I was most disappointed with. I will add some spoilers coming up here, but I think overall my plot complaints are that the story is quite cyclical. It also had some gaps that were written off at the end in this moment of like, well, we can't explain everything, which is true to real life, but as a reader, I want there to be purpose behind why you've put things in there. I think it's almost lazy writing for the sake of making things feel spookier and then feeling like you maybe don't have to explain why that happened. A big portion of this book is Iris being stalked by this like big burly man with a minotaur mask, and he's got like runes carved into his body in blood. It's very spooky, but before I dig into that too much, I need to talk about something that happens in the very first chapter when we first meet this character. The first time she sees this minotaur, she's out on a run, you know, getting her cardio in, getting her steps. She's a healthy queen.
Got me up in the gym, just working on my fitness.
She sees this minotaur man, very scary, valid, and she craps her pants on the run. I'm reading this book, bam, chapter 1, poo. Quote, when I caught my breath, my fear was replaced by embarrassment that a wet brown stain had spread over the back of my leggings. Girl, you're 16. I wasn't ready for it. Her mom absolutely writes it off with like a weird joke. Her 17-year-old daughter came home and had crapped her pants. And this is her response. What happened? Are you hurt? No, I was mauled by a rabid pigeon. And you're so scared that you shat your pants? I threw her a very funny pout. The end! Never mentioned again. Nobody's worried about this. It's a weird little way to ease me into the book here. Okay, spoiler time. If this is a book that sounds interesting to you, minus maybe the poo pants. Maybe the poo pants sounds very interesting to you. I don't know you. Feel free to skip ahead to the next section because I'm going to be talking about spoilers here now. Anyway, Minotaur Man. Da 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 da. He's hunting these girls down. Turns out he comes from this liminal space between life and death, which is conveniently where the girls had disappeared to when they were children. And it's also where Gray was taken in the current timeline. So essentially all these missing people are going to this kind of liminal space between life and death. This is kind of where I really like this space, but I feel like the first 70% of this book is summarized by like, Gray goes to this other space and then comes back, and then the Minotaur comes from there to here, so then they go there and then the Minotaur goes there and we come back, and it's just very cyclical. We're doing the same things over and over again. Kind of like those Scooby-Doo clips where it's like wee wah, you know, where they're like running back and forth and they're not quite seeing each other. It feels a lot like that. The Minotaur is actually their dead father, who knows that when his missing daughters returned, they came back a little off, a little wrong, a little inhuman, and he's always been very skeptical of the girls since their return. He has since died, but he, in the afterlife, decides that he's going to hunt down these girls and stop them as they're these ungodly imitations of his daughters. I like this plot pretty well, actually. I think it's resolved in a really beautiful way, but why is he a Minotaur? Who knows? The book is never gonna tell us. A big problem I had with this novel is that there are a lot of little B plots. There's this really upsetting scene where Iris goes to the bathroom and she has like a kind of a pustule on her neck, and then she's like prodding it a bit and a bunch of ants come flying out of it. It's so freaking gross, man, but it's not resolved at all. We don't ever really learn why that is. It's like a really big, really intense scene that is half explained at best. She literally asks about this near the end of the book, and the response is just like, some things we'll never know. There's a weird moment where Iris kisses Tyler, like Gray's boyfriend, that is also just like washed away in the wind, you know? I didn't like it at all. It felt really out of place to me for this strange thing to happen. There's no inclination of romance between the two, and then they kiss, and then I'm like, ugh, gross. What did it add to the story? Literally nothing. All in all, there were a handful of plot twists in this story, but really none of them surprised me. Sutherland doesn't really make the readers work for for the plot twists, and instead things are given pretty early in the novel, so when it feels like it should have been a plot twist, it really is just like a confirmation that something that was said earlier mattered. Also, spread amongst all these beautiful moments are a couple of off-putting sentences that turn me off of the book a little bit. And I get that it's a horror novel and there are going to be things that are off-putting, but there are some of the scenes that are horrific and still beautiful to read. And there's just a few things that were said in this book that I was like, I don't like that at all. They're just off-putting for all the wrong reasons. Kind of like the poo moment from earlier where I was like, what is happening here? Quote, says the girl salivating over Tyler Yang, said missing sister's boyfriend. I'm not salivating, at least not with your mouth. Gross. Agreed, gross. Don't say that. I hate it. Not salivating with your mouth. Ugh. Despite the circular story, I found myself eating it up pretty quickly and with a decent amount of enthusiasm. In the end, I gave House of Hollow by Krystal Sutherland a 3.75 stars. I can see why so many people love it and why it's really popular this time of year. It is so eerie and haunting and beautiful and vibey. The cover is beautiful. The characters for the most part are really interesting to read about and are really mysterious and intriguing. Overall, if you want a spooky, vibey October read that is scary enough that it's scary content, but not scary that you'll be like freaked out in real life, this is probably a good pick for you. Otherwise, it's been kind of slow going for reading for me. I read Gideon the Ninth in the last month, which took up a lot of my reading capacity, and I enjoyed it a lot, but I just don't know that I have the capacity for the sequels right now. After that, I read The Love Wager by Lynn Painter, which was perfect for the single brain cell I had remaining. I really enjoy Lynn Painter books a lot. Other than that, I'm hoping to pick up a couple more books here before the end of October. I am almost done Yellowface by R.F. Kuang, which I've enjoyed a lot, and I'm hoping to pick up some non-fics in November for Non-Fic November. So if you have non-fics that are not self-help but are maybe more story-driven, let me know, because I would love to read more non-fic. That was one of my goals this year, and I'm always on the hunt for ones that are really, really enjoyable. Thank you guys for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, all that good YouTube stuff, and we'll see you next time. Bye! Mwah.